what do you know, we're filming another video review where once again, I'm like, I hope this review does this series justice because there's so many different elements, so many different parts that are absolutely amazing that I'm like, please, I want every single person to check it out. Please do it well, Laura. Hello friends, happy Friday. I am so very excited that you're here. I'm actually pushing all my other video reviews back and posting this one today because I recently read it and I must do a shout out to Shay at Shay Geeks Out. I'll leave a link to her channel here or specifically to her review of this manga. And the manga I am talking about is Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beast. Oh my goodness, this series I feel is honestly like a hidden gem right now. I know that it recently, maybe, I don't know how recently, but it recently got an anime announcement. I'm very excited. I've watched the trailer. Perfection. I'm so excited to see everybody on screen. But in case if you're not familiar with this series, because I definitely knew nothing about it beforehand or like before Shay had talked about it, I had like I said seen it in passing, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know. But it is about our main character here. Her name is Sarifa. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. I hope I say all these characters' names correctly. So I ask for graciousness if I'm saying any of these characters' names wrong. But it's about her, and she is the 99th sacrificial, I was supposed to say princess. She is the 99th sacrifice, human sacrifice, because on the night of revelation, there has always been a sacrifice given to the king of beast. You have different races, but basically you have the humans live in one country and then the beasts live in another. But to sort of keep the peace, the humans give a sacrifice to the king, and the king of beasts is going to more or less eat this sacrifice. But when Sarifa comes to the King of Beasts, His Majesty, she is not afraid of him. In fact, they have a very interesting conversation that first time that totally upsets the Chancellor, who is basically the Beast or His Majesty's right-hand man. It was so good. It was so good. But she is expecting to die. She's not afraid to die because of different things that we know, that we find out about her. Rather than her dying like she is supposed to as the sacrifice that she is, the king spares her, and this begins a new beginning, or does it not begin a new beginning? And I will say, spoiler alert, you know it's a new beginning. That's why we have a was it 15 volume series? So yes, I had to double check. It is a 15 volume series. That's as good as I can get it without like knocking my camera or anything. This series surprised me in so many different ways. In fact, I don't know how to finish that, but I feel before I started getting really invested into shoujo manga and reading a lot more shoujo manga, I do feel I was one of those people that just felt that all shoujo manga was romance. And that's not true. Like the more I've definitely read, I'm definitely like, that's been debunked a while back, Laura. Like that's not true. But I feel like this is a series that definitely debunks that. Yes, there is a very wonderful slow burn romance that I absolutely love. It's very, very good. Like if you love where the couple gets together very early and the feeling of love has been established. I feel like I just said that weird, but you know that the main couple loves each other, that there's not going to be this unnecessary love triangle drama. Like, no, like that's not my favorite thing about shoujo tropes, like, or some shoujo tropes. Anyway, so it's been established very early on that our couple indeed loves each other and that it's going to be just a slow burn romance for the rest of the series. If you love that, this is a really good one to check out. But even with that said, there is so much more to this story than the romance. In fact, it was really interesting to me because for a little bit, I really wanted a certain kiss to happen. When I finally got it, I was like too focused and too worried about this other character that I'm like, this is like everything I've been wanting. But like, what's going on with that other character? And I was completely caught off guard by that because you guys know that I love romance and I love the romance in the story so very much. It's just, oh, it's so very good. The conversations that they have is absolutely beautiful. They really go in deep and talk about deep things where we're talking about like with children, how they want to be as parents, different other elements that I can't, or different other topics that I can't say because they'd be spoilers, but I really feel like there is a depthness to their romance that is just so amazing. It was very, very beautiful and just everything about this series. Like, I honestly was very thankful for the manga because I feel like for half of this series, I was so thankful that basically I was noticing this pattern, especially within, I think, the first 5 volumes, where the first 2 chapters, or at least the very first chapter of that volume, gave us this romantic, really super sweet chapter with our main couple, and I super appreciate it because I feel like it would just sort of feed your romance heart. And it was great because after that there's a lot of political things that happen, or a lot of action things that happen. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't have been able to handle this if I hadn't had that very sweet moment with our main couple. Like, I really needed that very, very much. And I just deeply appreciate that. I feel like I have not necessarily seen that in a lot of shoujo manga where you're just being constantly fed the romance. So I feel like, though, that there was this really great balance of romance and politics and strife and action that happens in Yona. And this has that same kind of feeling in the series. In fact, if you like Yona of the Dawn and you want more series that are similar, I would definitely check out Sacrificial Princess. I feel like it has a lot of the same hard topics that are discussed, but let's go ahead and go into that. One of my favorite and just amazing things about this series is that it tackles hard topics. Like Yona of the Dawn, it tackles some big things. We're not going to talk about that because I'll get all rambling off topic. But one of the biggest things that this series addresses over and over and over again is the topic of racism, prejudice, and hate. It is so hard, and I honestly felt like, though, that by the end of this series, it was so inspiring, it was so encouraging, and honestly left me hopeful for the real world, like our world. Sarifa, she's the only human in the beastkind realm right now. Like, there's other people, but she is at one point going to have a very important role. Like, she has a very important role through the series, but I'm not going to say what this given title is that she is given later on, but it is huge and it has a lot of responsibility that comes with it. And so she is constantly put in these positions, even before that title, honestly, she's constantly put in these positions, though, where she is getting the full brunt of these beasts, of their prejudice, of their hate, of just racism that is shown towards her. Yes, we're seeing it from the beasts toward humans, but we're also seeing humans show that towards the beast as well. Things are just not as simple. Like, they have this wall that's built between the beast kind and the human realm, or just the human country, and it's not solving the problem of racism in this story. Like, yes, there may seem like there is a peace that is there, and Sarifa actually has this conversation with the king. They talk about this, and she realizes it's just not that simple. Like, if we just never interacted talking about the humans and the beasts, there would be peace. No, it's not that simple. And there were just so many times my heart just felt completely broken for Sarifa and for certain beasts that she meets, because you really see the impact that hatred has. You really see prejudice and all of that. Like, the impact is, I was about to say, it's overwhelming, but given how things are in the world right now, especially in the United States, where there is a lot of talk about racism and prejudice and hate, this story, how it ended, left me hopeful that our world can change, that we can come together despite race, despite our political, religious beliefs, despite our sexual identity, that we all can come together and just be, I was going to say friends, but I feel like be a community that is in harmony. That's not to say that suddenly racism is going to disappear or anything, because Sarifa learns the same thing, but it's those challenges that you take with your loved one, with your friends, one step at a time. And that was shown through every single volume. Like, honestly, Sarifa, from the very first volume, we are seeing her break down these barriers, these walls that have been there for probably generations, for many, many years. And it is a beautiful and incredible thing to see how all of that pays off by the end. Like I said, not to say that suddenly everybody's instantly happy, that there's this perfect picture bow. Yes, it has a very happy ending, but I feel like that certain topic is definitely addressed by the end, and you see just the effects that it has on everybody. And I really love that there was a quote that I shared in one of my Goodreads reviews. I don't remember what volume it was, but it talks about how basically prejudice because of misunderstandings is a very scary thing. I got teary-eyed when I first read that, because it just felt so on point. Having open communication, and Sarifa, while I think it was actually in the afterword at volume 15 that people are like, I think she's a cheery protagonist. And when I agree with the manga, I didn't necessarily consider her to be a cheerful protagonist. Like, she struggles, and you see those struggles. She definitely doubts herself at times. She definitely questions, should she be here? And there is an ongoing struggle where she doesn't feel that or see herself as having value outside of, I'm just a sacrifice, so I could throw my life away, so to speak. Maybe not to the point of like dying, but there's certain things that she's truly hoping for. She's wanting to stand by her loved one's side. Like, that is her ultimate goal. That's the thing that she wants the most, but she's willing at times to throw all that away because she wants to be able to show other people, hey, do not let hate dictate your actions, even amongst each other. It gives a whole other overtone, a whole other powerful layer that this story is so much more than a romance. There's so many characters, but there are so many different characters that you feel this connection with because of her, because she's willing to put herself out there and experience, like I said, the brunt of this hate and address it. Where there's one time where she's like, yes, I'm a human, and why don't you take a gamble on me? Because I'm going to make sure that you win. And I'm just like, girl, you rock. She is a very cool character to follow, and how selfless she is, though it's not necessarily because she is a super selfless character, but because of just how much she wants the people around her to be touched and impacted and know that they have value. There's a powerful message through the whole thing, but at certain moments, I can't talk about that because it happens at volume 14, where you as a person has value, that you are important, and that your feelings, your life is touching somebody else and creating new connections, new beginnings potentially for that other person, simply because you're alive. And because you're alive, you are important. I really loved so very much. It affects our majesty, and I'm just gonna call him Your Majesty because hoorah to the shoujo community. There is a pivotal point in this manga, and I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And that's all I'll say in case if I give spoilers, but hoorah to every single person who kept the secret safe that's in this manga safe, because I honestly had no idea. I had no idea. It was so good. So you know what? Shout out to the shoujo community for that, because y'all rock. So let's talk about, Our Majesty. Whew, if a character who really weighed on my heart through this whole series, it was definitely him. I don't even know where to begin. He is an amazing character. His growth is wonderful. Same as this guy. Oh my goodness, he's so great. And I'm not going to say anything about him because I told myself, it's like, he's not part of the main story per se, but he is so cool. His art design is everything, and just look at him. Guys, he's just cool. He's just cool. Granted, his attitude stunk in this one, something fierce, and I was like, it's hard not to like you, or dislike you, I mean, because your character design is so very cool, and just, I can respect some of the things you do, but on the other hand, I can't respect you because of what you're doing. But anyway, talking about His Majesty, but I don't know, I really don't know what I can say about him, because I don't want to go into spoilers or anything, because again, the shoujo community kept so much of his secret and just things with him a secret, but he has a very impactful journey, and I love seeing him grow. In fact, I feel like this whole series is honestly, Sarifa, that it's her story, but those last two volumes, volume 14 and 15, are His Majesty's story. That is the point, I feel like, where there's a subtle shift and it focuses on him, and you see the beauty of his arc come to a fullness. You see the impact of change just shines in those last two volumes. That is so beautiful. I for sure cried in volume 15. I teared up. I cried in a variety of places, not just because of His Majesty, but because of everything, though specifically seeing His Majesty, especially I think it was in volume 14, it was the end of 13, where I'm just like, oh my goodness. Hoorah to Sarifa though, she won't afraid to call him out on some things, and I'm like, you go girl, he need to be called out on that. So I admired her so much more. He is a wonderful and amazing character. Honestly hope that a lot of people love him, really enjoyed him in this story. And so I guess with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the side characters, because oh my goodness, I love this whole cast of characters so incredibly much. And we'll start off with Sai and Klops. I think I have their names right. Pretty sure I do. hopefully I do, but I love these two little guys. They are so precious. I wish they were real. I was like, I want Cyclops as my friends. They're sort of like servants to Sarifa, and they are amazing. I love them. They're two precious little beings, and I really love their interaction with her, and how honestly they're sort of like her first friends that are beasts. It is so amazing. I love the fantasy aspect that involves them and how it helps in pivotal, very pivotal moments where there is danger and you're just like, oh my goodness, and let's pause for just a second. In no way do I find this story boring, because there was one review that said it was boring, and you guys know when I did, what was it, daily report about my witch senpai, which I will leave a link here, I got really upset when somebody said that it has no substance, and that's not true. The same with this series. This series is far from boring, guys. It is far from boring. I would not say it's a slice of life. It's definitely a political fantasy, so if you're looking for political fantasy, check this out. In fact, it didn't feel like the political aspect was overwhelming at all. In fact, and I must thank Yona of the Dawn for this, because I have read more political stuff since then that I have deeply enjoyed, like The Remarried Empress. Heck yeah, that is in my top 5 favorite manga of this year. I've read that thing twice and now, and I'm going to read it a third time when it comes in the mail next week. Anyway, sorry. But I really enjoyed this. So the politics is not overwhelming. Yeah, there we go. I was like, where are we going with this again? I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. But yes, it's a political fantasy, and it's not a slice of life. I'm trying to think of how you describe it, but it is not boring. That's the one thing I wanted to say. It is far from boring. In fact, I feel like the more the series goes on, especially when you get to maybe like a little bit over halfway, a character comes on the scene and whoa, the action just picks up just like that. There's not really any graphic violence, but that one fight scene, that was a little bit bloody. There was a little bit more blood as the series goes on. Definitely not anything graphic or anything, but just as a heads up. So I don't feel this series is boring, and I just want you guys to know that. So let's go back to Sai and Klaus, as I was really originally saying beforehand. So I love these two. They are absolutely so precious, so sweet. There's a bonus story with them at the end, and it was so adorable. And one thing too, there is a coloring page in this manga just in the sidebar, and it's actually of them too, and I thought was the coolest thing. I meant to take a picture so I could share it. It was, like I said, just in a sidebar, and I'm like, she's like, if you get bored and you want to color, here you go. And I'm like, this is so cool. There's a coloring page in a manga. Random little thing, but I love them. They are some of my favorite characters. I love seeing them every single time they are on page, and how, like I said, how pivotal of a role that they play later on. Oh my goodness. I have been looking forward to talking about this character, and that is Anubis. Oh, where do we start? So I liked Anubis a lot when we first met him, and then I was like, Anubis, I don't like how you're sort of basically playing like devil's advocate. I don't like this one single bit. I went through a period of like, I really don't like you, Anubis, but oh my goodness, you get his backstory, and then things happen later on, and my heart was just so heavy for him. In fact, he became one of my favorite characters by the end, because he has so much growth from the beginning to the end. He makes the perfect contrast, unfortunately, to Sarifa, her goal and her mission. Well, you know, I feel like as like an overview of what she's doing, he is not necessarily against it, but he is. There are so many complicated layers to him, and I love the ending with him so very much. I felt like he was just creating such an emotional whirlwind in me. One of the scenes that I cried at definitely involved him. He grows, and he changes, and it's so amazing. And I was just so thankful for how his story ended, because that actually ended up becoming something that was very, very important to me. And I never would have expected that, because he's so grumpy. I love some of the jokes that are played on him a little bit and how grumpy he gets about that. And it's very amazing. He's a very rich character that he surprised me so often. And, you know, whether that was in a good or bad way, it was so good. Even though his backstory, broke my heart a little bit. There's quite a few backstories, honestly, that broke my heart, and maybe every single one of them minus one. And the one that didn't surprised me the most, because I was totally bracing myself like, we're gonna get another tragic, sad backstory. And it was like, this is really moving and emotional. But Oh my goodness. So I was actually telling my husband the other day when I was reading this, I was joking. I was like, my manga's cooler than yours because I am shipping two different reptiles together and it is the cutest thing. It is the cutest thing. Granted, they're not both on this cover, but Princess Amit. Oh my goodness. I love her character so very much. This is actually one of my favorite getting tongue-tied. This is one of my favorite covers because she's on it. She is like almost like a ray of sunshine on page. I love their friendship so incredibly much. It is so wonderful. I love her gentle courage. I love how her heart grows in courage as this series goes on. How she just finds such encouragement and strength in Sarifa and their friendship. I love how she is an excellent little chef and bakes the sweetest little sweets and such. She is so wonderful. She is just, she's so wonderful. In fact, when I was watching the anime trailer, I think it was yesterday or the night before, she is who I am most excited for. I just love her character. She is so funny on page and she is a maiden of love, and seeing her talk about love and just subtly or not subtly, but in such a beautiful and friendly way encourages Sarifa when it comes to romance is everything. I feel like she's like in the top 10 favorite female characters because she's so wonderful, friends. She's so very wonderful. She's so caring, has a beautiful heart, and I just loved seeing her on page every single time, unless she was crying. Then I was not very happy because I wanted her to definitely be happy. And another character I really loved is this guy right here. Oh my goodness, he's so fun, and I really enjoyed him on page so very much. I trusted him right off the bat with Sarifa and just love their journey and their story together. It is everything. I won't say too much about him because there's a lot that involves him, but it is so very good. This guy right here, he is awesome. He is awesome. He is awesome. There's just so many characters. Like the characters I've mentioned so far definitely play a bigger role unless they're on the back here. But this guy here plays a pretty big role for a side character, and I love the whole cast. I really did. I feel like this was actually one of my favorite parts of the series. It's hard to dislike anybody. I feel like Anubis was probably one of the exceptions there where I definitely struggled, but I really loved the whole cast. They just make this series so wonderful, and the interactions that they have with Sarifa, especially in the first half of this series, is so moving and so touching. You love all of these people, and I feel like almost want to say it's because of Sarifa and how she views them, but no, I feel like honestly, each of them are so unique, and you see them grow personally because of Sarifa's like involvement and impactment in their life and how they have changed. It's everything. It's everything. It's just so beautiful. It's so wonderful. I love the whole cast of characters. We could just talk all day about them and I would be one happy reader because that is just how much I love them. I feel like this also shares that with Young of the Dawn, where you just love everyone. Like the whole cast of characters is so amazing, and it makes you feel different emotions with different characters based off of their actions. Thinking of Suwon, Anubis sort of reminds me on a much smaller scale of Suwon. Anubis and Suwon I feel like would be friends, but it would be like a really complicated friendship. There was times I actually caught myself when I was reading. I was like, if I could compare the Young of the Dawn characters with Sacrificial Princess characters, like who would be best buddies? So I feel like that is something that Young of the Dawn and this series definitely have in common. I will just say though, I love the end of this series so very much. Looking at the covers just really touches me. Sarifa, again, is just an amazing and phenomenal protagonist. I deeply love her character and was so personally challenged by her actions. Hopefully that every reader feels challenged too, that they have grown reading this series. Her impact on them or on us as readers really lasts longer than just the time that we read this. Like that is my hope, that for me personally after reading this series, that I wouldn't say give people the benefit of the doubt, but to be open-minded and to remember that I am just as important as any other person. This series is so special, and I am just so thankful that I read it, and I hope, friends, that you guys will give it a chance. I hope that my rambles made sense and was able to show that this is a wonderful shoujo manga because, yes, it has that slow burn romance and it has maybe politics and fantasy, but there are messages and themes that are so incredibly powerful and relevant to us personally, not just as readers who read manga, but just as readers in the real world. It is so fantastic and challenging, inspiring, and hopeful that I hope that you will give this series a chance and check it out, or at least the anime when it's coming out. I will leave a link here if you want to check it out because it looks so good. It looks so good. Totally let me know, friends. Have you guys read this series? If you did, what did you think? What were some of your favorite characters? If you haven't read this series, are there other fantasy manga that you have read that you really enjoy and would recommend? I would totally love to hear from you because I feel it'd be fun to check out some fantasy reads since I typically just read my contemporary romance. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!